Hi, my name is Andrew McLaren. Today we're going to talk about why digital tools are better than paper for student learning, and we're also going to look at some examples of this so that you can see why I actually prefer them. So I'm going to talk pretty in depth about the why these things allow you to do better growth mindsets, why it's way more efficient, and there's some pros and cons when you go to digital versus paper things. It can be difficult for some students, but with the right supports, you can actually decrease inequity. So you can make the classroom a fairer place and get students to everyone to make good growth with these tech skills. Then there's a program that I really like called OneNote, and I really like my Wacom tablet. I'll show you how I use those for doing math. It's really, really nice for like brainstorming or anything that you would just kind of maybe scribble notes on. I really, really like this, and it is great for organization as well. And then I'll show you some other tools that are pretty good. They're like alternatives. They might be a little bit better or worse in some ways. You'll see. So the main reason that I really like digital work is it lets students improve their work so much easier. They can redo parts or make corrections very, very easily when there's a digital essay, but it's very difficult to go in and change specific parts if you've written it on paper. So this is kind of where people, I think, started seeing the benefits of doing digital, was like writing essays for like final drafts, but it applies across the board. It allows you to do like better models, like you can refine your model and you don't have to erase the whole thing. It looks a lot cleaner. And it's just in general going to improve the quality of the work that you're getting from students when they are when they're able to rework on things and get some feedback and then resubmit it. You always want to do that digital, in my opinion. I would not do that paper. I have allowed students to submit paper versions of these types of things where they can resubmit it, and they instantly regret it every single time because they're like, I wish I'd done this on computer, because all my friends who did it on the computer are done in like 5 minutes. It's going to take me a day to rewrite this whole essay or redo this model. So it's really, really important to not like set things in stone with grades. And if you're trying to have that growth mindset, this is the structure that you want to use to get there. Okay. When we use digital tools, they allow students to do better quality work. They're just able to have more versatility in what they're doing. Like when you have students color code in the class, how many colors do they have a choice of? And depending on how far in the year you have, how many um, sets of colored pencils do you have left, right? So it allows you to do more colors. It allows you to have more control over your spacing and reorganizing pieces when you're resubmitting work, like I talked about in the previous section. In addition, I really like how students can't really lose digital files. It is possible for things to get deleted, but in my experience, it is a small, small fraction compared to the amount of paper assignments that get lost or they never got the assignment. But it's really easy to show on Google Classroom that they did get the assignment, and that they know how to get that, right? So it's important that students are able to access the technology, but if you've trained them on how to do that, this will make them a lot more efficient across the board in terms of getting things turned in, late work, and all that, right? Let me show you with uh, I want to show you a couple examples of some work that I've had students do on Google Slides. Like there's a lot of tools that you can use, but this is just a very powerful thing that they have on Google Slides. And if you're teaching a public school, most of them have like Google accounts. The students have Google accounts. They have access to Google Slides. They can make like bar graphs and like change the height of the bar graphs. They can move around like different parts of the model and get them set up a little bit differently. So this is an example of one of my students submitted molecular models showing intermolecular forces and phase change. So you can kind of see like what students did, and like if I gave them some feedback, like um maybe these colors were too light, they should have been like a darker color, then it's really easy for the students to just go in and change to a darker color, right? That's a lot harder to do with paper. If you have a small change like that, you may have to redo the whole model to show that. but it's very easy to make those small changes. Or maybe you need to change the spacing a little bit. Maybe these things need to be spaced out a little bit more. So you can easily tweak parts of your model if it's done digitally that otherwise would just, those changes would not happen and students just wouldn't do them if you ask them to do it on paper because it just takes too long, right? So you can get students to show better learning when they work on these slides. And you can see another example of some student work there. And I did also have them do some writing that went with it. And so you can imagine that if they wanted to resubmit that part, that's also pretty easy, right? So you can do a ton of things in Google Slides, like you can add text boxes. I'm not going to show everything, but the main things that I work with students is like adding in shapes and being able to work with colors, like changing the colors of certain things in on your diagram, and then you can make concept maps on here. I love doing concept maps. That's a very easy thing for you to do with connecting like different shapes to each other, and different shapes can represent different things. And then you can also like make these like text boxes as well. Most of these shapes in Google, if you double click or triple click on them, they turn into like a text that you can type in, and you can like change all the sizes and stuff. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible the level of detail that students can do on here, and how easy it is for them to tweak it as they need to once they've gotten some feedback. It's highly recommended. I really like also teaching them like these elbow connectors and curve connectors. There's a couple different ways to like connect different points on here, so you can kind of show them a couple different ways to do that to create different models. Very versatile. You could imagine that they could use this in other classes down the road to make better presentations. So, or even jobs, right? These are real world skills. And I really like just Google Slides, Google Sheets, that kind of stuff is very basic but pretty universal. So like most schools, kids are doing things with Google Sheets, so they have some experience with that. Yeah, these are just better than if you were trying to do this on paper. Sheets are much easier than doing all the math if you've got a ton of math that you need to do. So it just makes the whole process more efficient. So we should be teaching students how to be more efficient with their time using technology, right? Okay. So technology is kind of a double-edged sword. You see a ton of students who have individualized education plans where they are told that they have to have access to technology because it makes their learning more efficient or makes it doable. But this really is the case for all students. Just some students have had those supports identified as necessary, and so they have to do that, right? But all students should be able to work with technology. Some students have more access to technology at home or outside of school. And I've taught at Title I schools where we had refugees coming from across the world who hadn't had really a public education at all beforehand. So they had no idea how to type or use any of the tools or Google or any of those things. So they needed to be taught everything. And if you don't teach them those skills, there's going to be students who are benefiting from technology, who are making tons of growth, and then these other students that just don't make that growth. So the gap between the two different groups gets bigger. So you'll see, and this is oftentimes the case in education, the top of the class makes more progress than the students that are kind of in the bottom grade wise. And you really need to teach them all these skills explicitly. But if you do that, you can see tons of growth. Like with the students I saw that were refugees from all these different countries, I set up things to allow them to be more successful. So there's this one thing that I noticed was you can kind of onboard them. If you've ever been hired by like a major company, they have like a series of onboarding trainings. I kind of did that for my class where I had like classroom expectations for them, where there was like how to turn in work, and where to find assignments, and how to find out what the due date is, and all those various things. Those were in some slides for them so they could just kind of go through that training. And it also had like tech skills. So it kind of looked like this. And I believe I've made a video about this, or I've talked about this before in other videos. It just trains them on everything. Like, how do you use YouTube? Is like the first thing, because they're all YouTube videos. It's like, how do you use translation with the transcripts and closed captions and all that stuff in YouTube. And then it was like navigation, turning things in, how to do specific things in Google Slides, like inserting pictures or drawing shapes in there. How to sign up for office hours, because this was made during the uh, lockdown year from COVID. And so you can kind of see also there was some content. There's a skill that we worked on, like claim evidence reasoning, throughout the whole year. So I wanted them to get a little bit of practice with that as well, just so they have that familiarity of that structure when we do that in the unit. Because they're not going to know my expectations and be able to be successful with that larger assessment unless they've seen it on some degree beforehand. So I have this very scaffolded fill in the blank CER for them to kind of do, and then they just turn it in, right? And so that was a nice way to give students who are falling behind, or maybe students who came to the school mid-year, or students that I was just identifying really needed these tech skills, then I'd be able to share maybe individual videos with them. And this was just pretty useful. There's also this other aspect of this with the equity. Like, students will do better work. I've talked about this already in the video. When you have digital tools, because they're able to fix it up easier. And I saw many students who initially failed this one assessment who got an A or a B a week later after they just spent a little bit of class time working on that. So I had like a space for them to do like test corrections. So I knew who was doing test corrections and that they were doing that by themselves. And then they got caught up. It was incredible. It really helped raise the students that struggled up to the point of, yes, this is where I want students to be with this skill. And I saw a lot of growth from that. So as a classroom teacher, I really liked Google Classroom, but since I've started my small business, I've done a little bit of research into the programs that are out there and the technology that you can use out there. And I really like OneNote, which is a product of Microsoft. They do have a free version that you can use if you have a Microsoft account, which is also free to make. So this is still, in a sense, a free program. There is a paid version that lets you like convert your writing into like actual math equations. So they've got some interesting things in the paid version, but I really like the organization piece here. There's some other programs that are good for whiteboards, but they don't have the organization for the students. This is all organized and saved on the cloud, so they can't really lose it. And you can set up like class notebooks, and you can have like different units and then different like days for the pages. Pretty intuitive for the students to kind of follow and see along there. Um, and I also really like this thing called a Wacom tablet. It's the same thing that the founder of Khan Academy, uses. It's really nice because you don't have to charge the pen. It is also Bluetooth, so you do have to charge the base, but it's very ergonomic. I like that I don't have to charge the pen. I do have to plug this in occasionally, but it lasts pretty long. It gets slightly better response if it's plugged in though, so I usually have it plugged in. Um, I love this thing. It's absolutely incredible. So let me show you what this looks like in person. So I've been working with a number of people, tutoring them in various things. So you can kind of see the notes that I've written here. So there's some stuff with like vectors, and I've done some color coordination. And it's very easy to add in some stuff and then change the colors. So you can add in some words on this diagram. So I just need to turn on my tablet. And then wakey. All right. So you can add in some line there. You can also change the colors very easily. You can also say, I want an entirely different color that's not an option. So you can add in like whole other colors. And so it's got a pretty wide selection here. You can see, right? So I can add in whatever color that I want and draw that, and then also easily change the colors of things, line them up. It's an amazing tool. Just really, really nice to use, very clean. You can see that I've got the different notebooks, a couple different students, and a couple other things. And then you can have like the sections, which would maybe be your units, and then these might be like your lessons, right? So I've got some stuff that I've been doing here. And then what I really, really, really like is that you can take part of a problem and be like, oh, maybe it'd be better if I moved this up there, right? So you can rearrange parts. You can also copy paste things. So I've had a number of things where it's like, okay, I'm reusing this formula that's used on the next problem. Maybe I want to change the color though of it. It's very, very, very useful. I also really like this where you can be like, hold on, I need more space for this problem. Like I need more space for problem B. So I'm gonna make more space, right? And so you can make space, you can move things around. It's absolutely incredible. I love it so, so much. You can see that I've also, this is like what I've been doing with my chemistry videos, kind of see like how I use the colors to help me keep track of the math. Like I wouldn't really teach math without any color coordination at this point after kind of seeing the benefits that you get from it. Um, it just helps you kind of track the parts of the problem when you get these larger problems. It's very, very nice. Like I can move that and be like, okay, that information might be important for the next problem, right? Super cool. You can also share it with other people and work on the same board at the same time with those people. So there is some collaboration. It kind of is like a Jamboard. Um, and they do have like some tutorials in here as well. Like the help tool is okay. You know, it's pretty good. You can put in your grid lines if that's what you want to use. There's all kinds of things that you can do like what you would do on paper. So if you were to have students do any like work on paper, I would do that really on a digital tool like this that functions kind of like paper where you can write on it. But it's like, okay, what devices do the students have, right? That's also an element. You can't really get a Wacom tablet for every single student unless it's already kind of part of the tech plan in your school. Uh, but I would encourage using a proper writing stylus than a touch screen for these like finer writings. Like you can do very basic shapes with a touch screen, but this lets you do a lot more accurately. So yeah, that's my favorite tool. I'll show you a couple other ones so you can kind of compare them. So these are a number of different things that you can use to have students draw, maybe collaboratively or individually, where they can do their work with like a pen or a stylus or something like that. I mean, you can use Google Jamboards um, without a stylus and just kind of use a computer, and you can add like sticky notes and stuff to that. But it does also let you do this like basic drawing where you've got the pen and you can add in some model or do some math or something. So you could have students work collaboratively on this digital math problem, kind of like that with a Jamboard, or make them draw a model or a concept map. This is pretty decent for concept maps. Um, and it lets you do the drawings a little bit better than if you're just on like Google Slides. Um, Google Slides and drawings is kind of tricky. Like in terms of drawing with a stylus, it's easy to add shapes, but this lets you do both a little bit easier. And it's a Google product. Currently, most schools, if you have Google Suites, you'll have as many Jamboards as you need. Jamboard is not a free program though. Um, it's one of the things that they include in their package for schools. So if you're not at a school like that, if you're like me, if you're trying to access things for free, it's not really that usable. I think currently they give you like 3 free Jamboards, and then in additional ones you have to pay for the Google Suite package with all that stuff. There's also WBO, which is this whiteboard. I think it's a whiteboard online or something like that. You should check this out. This is pretty cool. So you can make your own boards. I would make a private board just so that random people aren't going on to the area that you're working. But this allows students to work for free on this interactive whiteboard. You can see it's got all the similar things that we're somewhat used to seeing on these digital tools, like drawing the shapes and color coordinating, all that stuff. I do like OneNote a little bit more than some of these ones for various reasons. I think this one there was there was just like some finer details and like the color coordination and the pen and all that stuff. I kind of liked the setup of the other one a little bit more. Um, but this works totally fine. It's totally just kind of a matter of preference, I think. Also, I like that it's organized for me. This is just like one document. It doesn't really have that organization where it's got all the things sorted for you. So like now I've got these boards, but they're just like URLs and just like series of numbers of letters. And I can go to them and see what's on the board. But it's not great for organization. It's okay as an open source free program that you can just use their site for. So you don't have to download anything. So it's kind of nice. I might use that for tutoring if I hadn't found out about OneNote, but I prefer OneNote. There's also this thing called Sketchpad. It's a website. It is like they've got a free website, but there's a like a program that you can pay for that's ad free. So Sketchpad pad lets you, yeah, sure, lets you do a lot of the same sort of thing. You got your pen, you can crop things. Uh, there is the ability to export and kind of save these things as files, but if you don't do that, eventually they clear them out. So I had ones that I had from like a super long time ago. Um, Actually, no, they're appearing now. Interesting. When I tried to check this earlier, I couldn't see some of these drawings I had made, but you can see it doesn't have that organization piece. But this is a pretty good program. It also works nicely for like copy pasting into this program. That's another things that you can like OneNote. You can see like there's some questions that I've written, but there's a lot of things that I've been taking from um, like snips from a PDF or something. So I'll get like because my Wacom tablet, I've got it set up so I can easily get the snipping tool, and then I can just like kind of copy paste that, and then I can put that like on OneNote. So it copy pastes that on there. Kind of did it kind of small, but most of these other things will let you kind of copy a problem or something on there as well. Some of them don't do that. That is an issue where some of them will and some of them won't. Kahoot, they've got their own whiteboard thing. This is pretty new though, so I haven't really seen much about this. But this is another option that is free. Give me a second. I think I need to create an account. All right, so I was able to create a class, and then it looks like if this has changed even since I last looked. So they've got their various tools here. I actually like the look of this. They've got you can do like little tables. Looks like um, yeah, all kinds of little outlines for you to kind of work on. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, I like that. So this is the Whiteboard Fi. I believe it is free to use. There's like a more featured version that gives you more things that you can do, but this has a yeah, a library which you need the actual version to use the library. So the organization piece here is where you would need to pay for it. So again, OneNote gives that to you for free. So it's kind of hard for me to justify that. There's also this one thing called OpenBoard, which is a program. So you do need to download it onto your device. But I think that this is a pretty good option. I think I'd looked at it and thought like, oh, well, this works almost as good as OneNote. I preferred the layout, I think, of OneNote a little bit, and the organization piece again. I'll show you this one. So this is the app and what it looks like. It's kind of like more if you've used an interactive like board in a classroom that you'd write on in front of the class, kind of like a smart board. This is much more like this kind of thing where you can look at the board and also show the desktop, right? And you can have your pen and draw kind of over the image that's there, right? So there's some things that you can do with this that is actually kind of better than OneNote, where you can kind of draw just on whatever you're looking at. Um, and this is a pretty cool, versatile program, I'm not going to lie. But I think that I just liked the visual layout of the um, organization. You know, like this does have your pages and whatnot. Uh, but I liked having all those the notebooks and the pages and the sections all kind of clearly labeled right there for me. But this is totally good. This lets you draw on here. I believe it also lets you kind of paste images. So I just tried to paste an image in there and I don't see it. So I don't know where it went. So there's some kind of user things where I don't fully know this one, but it works pretty nicely. It's got a lot of different features. As you can see, they're all using the same sort of things, like the eraser and the pen and the zooming in and out. It's pretty good, pretty good. The other thing that I really like about OneNote is that you can just kind of make more space, like Sketchpad and whatnot. That page is as big as it's gonna get, and it looks like this is, yeah, kind of the same thing where the page is a certain size, really. And then like if you zoom out past that, you're getting kind of out of the bounds. So there's some elements that are slightly different between these different programs and how they control. This one also, it's a program, it's not like a website, so it's kind of a little bit different in how you have to navigate and work with it. Okay, and now for the last one, Space Deck. This is another open source program. I actually haven't even installed this because it's kind of complicated. So GitHub is all this open source programs are on there that you can get for free. But then if you read through this, the installation takes a couple other things that you need to download. And I just kind of was like, I don't really know what Node.js is, so I'm not even going to go there, right? So if you are a more technical person, this is another option that you could check out. Okay, I think that's it though. Thank you for joining me. This has been Andrew McLaren. Thank you for McLearning with me. I've got a few more offers that I'd like to let you know about. And remember, like and subscribe. For each video on YouTube, I am making an interactive version using HP5. These will be for sale on Podia. And if you click on the link in the video, you should be able to go directly to that product. I also have 2 demos I'm going to be linking so you can kind of see what these products look like. So I would recommend checking out those demos. I also offer one-on-one remote tutoring through Wyzant. Please use the links that I have linked below. That way I can get 100% of the hourly rate as opposed to 75. Each video also has a link for my Patreon, and you can join at the $3 level to get some resources I use for tutoring or to support the channel. And I also have a $5 raffle level, which you could either get some free online tutoring or 5 interactive lessons for free. You choose which ones. And then I also have my Teachers Pay Teachers, which has some old lessons that I made from when I used to be a teacher. I may be adding to that. Thank you for spending your time with me. I hope that you learned something.